right? Try to move as slowly as I can. Globalization, fundamentals, right? What do you need to know? 3 different things only. What are the benefits of globalization? What are the driving forces? And what is the impact? Of course, right? Because when you talk about globalization, if you cannot explain the benefits, the driving forces, and the impact, by impact of globalization, I mean impact to jobs, impact to the environment, and so forth. This one you don't have to copy down any further. Like income inequality, national sovereignty, on culture, all those different impacts. Okay? That is just an introduction of globalization. The key focus will be on the other 3 topics. So globalization, make sure that you roughly know what it is, what are the driving forces. The meat of it, I think we spent close to 1 term on it, is the macro environmental forces. Right? By that, what do I mean? I mean a few areas. Remember the geographical forces we cover in week 2? For geographical forces, there are 2 things you need to know. Geographical forces. Obviously, the concept of time zone, you need to be able to calculate time zones, right? And the various forces are location, climate, and all those things, right? Physical infrastructure. What is more important? Okay, I zoom in. I think some of you are straining your eyes. Better? Okay, various forces like location and all those things. Now, what I want to highlight to you is time zone calculation. You guys know how to calculate time zone, but some of you, during exam time, I don't know why you always ask, concept of local time. If anybody asks the examiner, what is local time? I give you a kick in the head, right? Because local time means obviously the time in that country. Example, when you depart Singapore and you arrive in New York, what time do you arrive in New York? Local time. Don't ask whoever, the examiner. Sure, local time means Singapore time or New York time. When you fly from Singapore to another place, New York, if I ask you what is the time in New York local time, clearly has to be here, right? Okay? No doubts about that. If you're not sure, go and ask your tutor again. Don't want to answer these kind of questions during exam because it's part of your understanding. Geographical forces usually is a very light topic. So as long as you know roughly the different location, climate and all those things, that should do the job. Economic systems. You need to tell me different types of economic systems. You guys know, right? Centrally planned economy, mixed market economy, roughly. Okay? You know that? Then we move on to economic indicators. What are the economic indicators? GDP, purchasing power parity, population distribution, the concepts. You guys are tested already in your CA2. Just a quick one. Don't have to copy too much. You just need to copy economic indicators. Growth rate is very important. More important than GDP, right? Growth. We always look at growth rate. How fast can it grow per capita? Need to know what is economic structure. I'm surprised some teams do not know what economic structure is. The primary, secondary, tertiary sectors. These are the three sectors that we refer to when we talk about economic structure and inflation rate. Okay, some of these indicators. What is more important is actually the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. Your investors, for some of you, ask, okay, in an inflation situation, in a situation whereby the economy is having high inflation, what monetary policy do you use? Whether it goes up or goes down, interest rates, you must know the direction, basically. So monetary policy is usually interest rates only. But for Singapore, it's exchange rate, because Singapore is too small. It depends on the exchange rate. Okay? So tight between inflation and interest rates, there is a relationship. When inflation goes up very high, what can the government do about interest rates to slow down the inflation? It increases the interest rates, right? So as to reduce the spending, increase the cost of borrowing. You need to know the relationship. When one goes up, the other, whether it goes up or goes down. Okay? That is for monetary policy. Fiscal policy is always about taxes and government spending. Remember Abenomics. The three arrows, the two arrows are monetary policy and fiscal policy. So you study about the economy, inflation, recession. Government have tools, monetary policy, fiscal policies. These are the key concepts for economic systems. Right? That is a key part for economic systems. Then not forgetting, some time back, I actually handed you guys notes, right? So for those who are absent, too bad. Emerging markets, obstacles to transition. What do you mean by that? Example, Myanmar, they are in a different market, very centrally planned. They want to move towards more open economy. They suddenly open up their market. What are some of the obstacles to transition? Example, managerial expertise. That is what they are facing. When China first opened up, same thing. Managerial expertise, skill sets, not there. So there are a few of them which are listed. So you can actually take a closer look at it. Okay? So this is what you do about economic systems. Roughly have an idea of government, inflation rate, tools to manage inflation, recession, and then the emerging markets. Alright, so far so good. Tightly coupled with economic systems will then be political and legal systems. You guys know very well by now. Close this before you guys fail. Political and legal systems. Political ideologies. My favorite, totalitarianism. 5 times pronounce that. Wait, they don't pronounce now. Okay, versus democracies. Roughly some of the characteristics of democracies, like frequent elections, regular elections, minority rights. Then political instability versus risk. Okay, some characteristics of totalitarian markets, democratic markets, how they are different. Then political instability versus risk, what the differences are. There are differences, examples, you know. You have got many forms of political risk, isn't it? Terrorism, confiscation, and all those things. and of course how to manage political risks. Each time we share with you certain things, we always share with you what are the ways to manage them, right? Like economic activities, inflation, recession, we tell you how to manage them. Monetary policy, fiscal policy. Now, political risks, there are also ways to manage them, right? Adaptation, gathering of information. Legal systems, a very light topic. You don't have to know really in details the different legal systems, but probably about the only thing you need to know will be the global issues like IP rights and all those. What happens when you conduct trade via the internet? Whose law do you follow? Let's say when you sell something over the internet to someone from Hong Kong, do you follow Hong Kong law or Singapore law? Answer is, of course, you always follow the law of the country that you are doing business in. In this case, it's Hong Kong, right? So it is your responsibility. If you are selling to 24 countries, make sure you comply to the laws of 24 countries. Easy way to remember is Singapore has a chewing gum law. So when anybody wants to sell chewing gum, they have to comply to Singapore's law. That's political systems. Okay? Can? Steady, yeah? Next bit is on financial systems. For those of you who skip your tutorial for this week and next week, better revise your tutorials, right? Because it covers on risk, financial risk, transaction risk especially. What are the different methods? Must know transaction risk, translation risk, economic risk. If you are not sure, ask your tutor. Make sure you are able to describe them. Right? What are forward rates? What are forward contracts? Currency futures, currency options. You must be very familiar with these tools. Because if we were to ask you, so tell me, what are the ways to mitigate the risk? Explain. Many marks. You don't want to lose marks unnecessarily, right? And of course, strategies to manage risk, which I've already shared with you. They are the okay, I'm going too fast, I know that. Okay? Anyway, risk strategies to manage risk. You stop there, don't copy so much. Okay, this part is important. In case you didn't hear me, this part is important. Translation risk, economic risk. Okay? Of course, coupled with this is when we talk about financial markets, we are talking about exchange rates. Exchange rates, then we talk about weak currencies and strong currencies. You have to understand what is the impact of weak currencies in a country, what is the impact of strong currency in a country, right? Okay, that is financial systems. Cannot. Okay? Follow or lost? Basically, what I've just gone through are the macro environmental forces. Forces at work, financially, politically, economically. These are the factors that affect businesses. Right?
Transaction.
External factors. Okay, yeah? One big part done. So if you know the external factors, then what do companies do? You talk about international trade and investments. I think we covered that in 3 topics. trade theories, the 5 different theories that you guys must know. Make sure you understand the concept, especially the later topics, the more modern theories like theory of national competitive advantage, factor endowment, international product life cycle theory, the more important ones, okay? Business and government trade relationships. Basically, this talks about why governments intervene in trades, right?
Huh?
And FDI,
I thought you have.
foreign direct investments. Reasons for foreign direct investment. Why do people even invest? Why not just export? What are the management issues involved? There are a few management issues, whether to build, to purchase, for control. Remember, 100% of ownership does not guarantee full control, because you are still subjected to local regulations. Local regulation says that you have to employ a boomi, then you have to employ. You saw today's newspaper, right? About DBS Bank. Yeah, because of regulatory issues. 40% not good enough. Don't waste money. So DBS decided, okay, stay away. So that is FDI, right? What host can do about FDI to promote, to restrict, what the home can do to promote and to restrict FDI. Okay? International trade and investments. Ken, still following or lost?
These are the strategies.
I think you're still following.
So for transaction, the strategies to manage it is
Okay, the good news. 2 topics will not be tested. Really, yeah. The 2 topics, more for completeness and for appreciation, is WTO, World Trade Organization, and GATT. As well as another topic. Okay, so this is international trade and investment. Economic integration. After you have learned the macro environment, you know what the companies can do, foreign direct investment, what nations can do to block or restrict or to promote trade. Then you look at the world, many trading blocks. We study only 3. Only. The 3 are the GATT and WTO. No need to study that. We study the 3 areas, we study the regional economic integration, the 5 circles, right? Free trade area, customs union, those things I guess you need to take a closer look at it. Make sure you understand what are the different characteristics of each of them. I don't know whether I have it here. The 5 levels are basically, you know the 5 levels, right? FTA, customs union, common market. It's important to know all this because of Asia, ASEAN. We are moving from one circle to another circle. So you need to be able to know the differences. And of course, the benefits and drawbacks of economic integration. Alright. Then we talk about the most important economic blocks, the 3 of them, right? EU, AFTA, NAFTA. So the other topic that will not be tested will be NAFTA, too far away. But what will be tested will be EU and AFTA. Or ASEAN, Free Trade Area. ASEAN will be important because of recent developments in this region which will affect you when you go to the market, right? And EU, you need to know EU because EU is a precursor of the challenges they face, and ASEAN is moving towards that side. Right? Can? Actually, that's what GBE is, so not that difficult, right?
So small.
So in summary,
Can I just pause here?
if you look at it, that is what GBE is, right?
Precision.
Solid.
Just stop.